Okay, this is the second video for the Project 5 demo. So make sure that you are working on page 1 of your document, actual document page 1. Your footer should have the page number 1 down here at the bottom. In your pages palette, your page 1 should be highlighted. Do not start doing this next part in the master page. We're done with the master pages, okay? So page 1, you are going to take the text document you've been given, you're going to format it, you're going to clean it up in some ways, and then you're going to design it with the Minion type family. I've chosen Minion because it comes with Adobe Creative Suite. If you're working in InDesign, you should have Minion. Alright, so what I've just done is I have, with the type tool, drawn a single type box that fits to my margins. And from here I want to go to with this text box selected with the type tool, so that I have a flashing cursor within the text box, as you can see right there. Then I'm going to go to File, Place, and I'm going to place the text document. This is a very common workflow for the professional designer. A writer will write something, they'll usually write it in Microsoft Word or some other word processing program, and you need to take that text and design it. There's no reason for you to retype what a writer has already written, and in fact it's a bad idea. Every time you are retyping something on the keyboard, you're introducing the opportunity for more typos and more errors. So you just follow that procedure I showed you, File, Place, and you can place the text document in there. Now there are a few things going on here. You have all of the text that fits in this text box at that size. We have a little plus sign at the end of our text box. If I click on that text box with the arrow, it will give me a loaded text icon with which I can draw a new text box. And you can see what that plus sign means is that there's more text, there's more contents there that won't fit in the window at that type size. So I like to do a sort of overflow box off the side of the page so that I can see all of the text. Now we're going to use, I'm going to delete this for now, we're going to use that capability. If you remember your project brief, we're going to do a very straightforward design. Working with our grid, our headline and author is going to go across 4 columns. Our article itself, the body copy and the subheads will fit in 2 columns. Okay? So this is a very straightforward layout for an article. This is a walk before you can run kind of thing. So don't worry about creating an experimental layout for this project. We're going to do a very straightforward traditional layout, and then we're going to spend a lot of time making this text absolutely beautiful. So for the next project, You will have a better understanding of the grid and of text typography, and you will be able to be a little bit more experimental next time, if you want. Okay, so here we have all the text, not quite all of the text, most of the text, fitting in one big text box. This is not the layout that we want. So I'm going to grab the bottom of this text box and I'm going to bring it up to match my grid. I just want the headline and the author in this top text box. So what I'm going to do, the first thing you want to do, you want to go to Type, Show Hidden Characters. Suddenly all these blue characters show up. So this character that looks like a backwards P, that is a hidden character for a hard return, what we call a paragraph break. So anytime that you hit the return key on your keyboard, you get one of those. These small, they look like a period, but they are small and they're about halfway up between the baseline and the X height. That stands for a space. Anytime you hit the space bar, you get one of those. So these are normally invisible characters, but if you turn on hidden characters, you can see all of them. And it's very helpful when you are formatting text to be able to see exactly how many spaces are in there, where your returns are. There are many different ones. And an important one that we're going to use is this one. We're going to do the Enter key, not the return key. The return key just gives you a hard paragraph break, but the Enter key, this is a different key on a full-size keyboard, and on a laptop keyboard you do Function and Return to get Enter. Enter gives you this invisible character. It looks like a downward-facing pointer. What that means is go to the next text box, wherever it is. I want all the text following this character to go to the next text box. Now there is no next text box for us, so I'm going to click on this plus sign. I'll get this loaded text icon, and I'm going to draw another text box. I'm going to work with my grid. It's going to be 2 grid columns wide and 7 tall. Now that still isn't everything, so I'm going to click down here, get another loaded text icon, and I'm going to draw another one. Now I still have my red plus sign. I am going to click that again and do an overflow. So that's all the text that isn't fitting yet. Now you need to fit the entire article on this page. And that's a problem. We have a third, we have an entire third column here. We'd need another half a page to fit it at this size. The very easy answer is to select all of your article text and make it smaller. It's now 12-point type, which is quite large for text. If I bring it down to 9 points, it all fits. I believe in the brief I told you guys to work with 8 points at first. I'm going to do that now. 8-point type. 8-point type is not a command. Your pages do not have to be 8-point type. 8-point type is a little bit small for text type. I just told you guys 8 points to start with, just because I know it will all fit on your page at 8-point type. You can go up in size from there, absolutely. So, we have a few things to do. You want to size all of your text appropriately using the size and weights of the minion type family to communicate the hierarchy. So, remember, hierarchy is communicated via position on the page, via size and weight. The most important things are bigger, they're at the top, they're largest, or boldest, or both. So I'm going to go to minion bold for my headline, and I'm going to make this much larger. I'm going to look at 60-point type. Well, 60-point type is way too big, it won't fit. Let's go down a little bit from there. 36-point fits on 2 lines. Now, as you are designing these, I have given you these helpful labels in brackets before each new section. So headline gets this headline label, author gets an author label. The body copy, I did not do one. The subheads get a subhead label. All right? This is obviously not part of the actual article. That's just in the text document to help you, the designer, be sure that you are identifying all the right parts. So, you just want to delete those labels. Easy peasy. Now, if you, let me see, I'm going to do a very large headline. Let's say 45 points, and I'm going to make my leading a little bit less. Now, I gave you guys that rule of thumb of 20% more leading than type size. That's a good rule of thumb for text type. When you get into headline type, display type, much larger, you can generally have less leading, proportionally speaking. I am going to keep my author name as regular, but I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I'm going to make that, let's look at 18 points. So these size and position decisions are up to you. In case you have forgotten a few simple keyboard commands, Command 0 will fit the whole page to the screen, Command 1 will scale it to 100%. Command plus will zoom in, Command minus will zoom out. And if you are not within a text box, if you do not have the type tool and the type cursor within a text box, if you're working with the arrow tool, if you hit the space bar, hold down the space bar, you can move page around in the window. Okay, so this next part, you're going to style all of this text to appropriately communicate the hierarchy and to be legible. So I'm going to go back up to my 9-point type because I think it can all fit, and I think 9-point is a slightly more legible size. With my subheads, I'm gonna choose to leave them the same size, but make them bold. All right. You may communicate the subheads via size as well. Another approach might be to, and I'll do it with this one, is to make, whoops, wrong way, to make the subheads slightly bigger. You know. So let's compare these side by side. You know. This is one way, same size, bolder weight. This is another way, larger size, same weight. And you could also have something in the middle. For our purposes, you know what, I like the same weight, larger size. Let's go with that. I'm going to maybe make it a little bit smaller. I'll do 13 points. So, minion, regular, 13. Okay, I'm taking out the extra paragraph return after the subhead. So the subhead hierarchy is communicated, in my case, just by size. You may choose to use size, you may choose to use weight, you may choose to use a combination of both. Okay, so there is my basic page layout. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to print this to make sure that it looks good printed. This is a print design. You should always proof your design in the medium in which it will exist finally. So if you are creating banner ads for a website, you want to proof them as pixel art. If you're creating a slideshow, you ideally want to proof it by projecting it through a projector. And if you're creating a print design, you want to proof it by printing it out. So we have a few bits of editing that we need to do. There are a few things that writers tend to do which are not the best typography. And as designers, we need to go through and fix these things up. So we have done step 11, we've done step 12. Step 13, you need to compare the original article text and make sure you keep the author's styling choices, such as bold or italicized words. This is important, and it is very, very easy to kind of obliterate italics when you're bringing in a text document. And let's do exactly that. Let's open up excuse me, got a little distracted by words, labyrinthine menus here. We want to open up the text document in Word or in TextEdit and compare. So here we can see the word precise in that first paragraph and slightly different are italicized. Where else? In our third paragraph, we have the words decent and beautiful are italicized. All right? All of these things got accidentally obliterated by styling our text in InDesign. It's just way too easy to do that, and I cannot count the number of times that a writer has gotten very upset with me because they said, you know, I wanted that to be italic. Why did you change it? That's not up to you. And I get a little embarrassed, and I say, well, it just happened accidentally. You know, well, you need to be more careful. Well, it's really easy to make this accident. So the point of this long rambling story is whenever you're working with a writer's text, make sure that you compare and make sure that you have all of the author's text styling choices, at least the basic ones, the italics and the bold, if they have called them out. So there are 5 instances in this article where we have the author has decided to italicize. Precise, slightly different, decent, beautiful. Make your author happy. Make sure that you maintain all of them. Our next step, we need to run spell check. All right, it's always, always, always your responsibility to proofread and make sure things are spelled correctly. Yes, it's the writer's job to spell things correctly in the first place, and yes, it's the proofreader's job to find errors, but it's also the designer's job to look out for these things. And it's very easy to run spell check. So if you go to Edit, Spelling, Check Spelling, it will just run through and find spelling errors. And here's one. The author used subpar as one word. And you can see in InDesign's suggested corrections, it thinks subpar should either be a hyphenated word or two words. So you can choose from the suggested corrections. Let's go with subpar hyphenated and hit change. And it does the change for you. And that's it. That's the only spelling error. It is a very good idea to take a look carefully at the suggestions it's making. Spell check often doesn't recognize people's names or place names. It often doesn't recognize specialized jargon or lingo, or brand names or things like that. So you don't automatically make all the changes that it suggests. But we have run spell check. The next thing we need to do is, let me see what order I told you. The next thing is we want to do a find and replace for double spaces. Alright, most writers are in this very bad habit of doing 2 spaces after every sentence, after every period. We don't need to do that with design software. We have beautifully designed proportional typefaces that have larger spaces than a typewriter does. In fact, people don't need to do it in Microsoft Word. They just think they do. So, a very easy way to deal with this is to go to Type. Go to Edit, Find Change, Find/Change. In our find, we hit the spacebar twice, and we tell it to change to a single space. You do Find Next. You can tell it to change. So it found 2 spaces. You hit change, it changes it to 1. Find Next. Change, changes to 1. Find Next. I like to use Change Find. It'll make the change, then it'll immediately find the next one. Change Find, Change Find, Change Find, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Now there is the ability in here to do change all, just wholesale, change them all in the whole document. I find it much smarter to go through and watch the changes happening, make sure that they all make sense. Sometimes a writer will put in 20 spaces in a row to try to design things. It's good to know when that's happening. Sometimes people are using spaces for other reasons. It's just good to see what's happening. Okay, so search is completed. There we go. Are we done with that? No, we're not. I always, always, always run this find change for double spaces twice. Just do it again. It will keep the same values that you had from the last search. So I do find, and lo and behold, there's one here. What happened was the writer, instead of hitting 2 spaces, accidentally hit 3. So change find, and here's another one. Change find. So with the 3 spaces, computers are very, very literal. We told it to search for double spaces, replace it with 1. It found a double space. followed by a single space. I replaced it with one, leaving 2. So that's why I always run the double space search twice. The next thing is this, the double dash. All right. The double dash is actually a writer's stand-in for an M dash. An M dash is a long dash. Okay? A double dash, when someone writes that, they really mean this M dash. And because we are good typographers, we know what that means. We want to switch it out. So you can go and delete it and do Shift Option dash to get the M dash. But I also like to run the find change because these can be a little hard to find. Let the computer do the work. So double dash, and you can enter an M dash, Shift Option dash. If you can't remember that though, here we go over here. We have, M dash. So we do find next, change find. All right, there's only the one instance in this particular piece of writing. Usually if a writer is fond of the M dash, they will use it more than once. So usually if you see one, there are more to follow. Okay. What else? We have run spell check, find replace, double. At the end of the article, type in a list of the fonts and sizes used for the 4 levels of hierarchy. And this can be small text, 6 point on 7 point. So this is at the very end. We're just going to do these little labels, headline, author, subheads, text, or body copy. And you tell me what font, what weight, what size, what letter. All right, easy peasy. Basically, and you don't need to remember this, you probably will have forgotten by this point. What you do is you select it. My headline is Minion Pro 45, Minion Pro Bold 45 on 45. So I can go down here, headline, Minion Bold 45 on 45. And I will make this small, 6 on 7. These labels can be teeny tiny. Author. Author is Minion Regular 18 on 24. We generally don't say regular. It's just assumed if you just say the type name. Say Minion with no weight or style modifier, it's assumed that it's Minion Regular. Our subheads are Minion 13. So subheads, Minion 13 on 11. And then our body copy or text. Both terms mean the same thing. Body copy is Minion Regular 9 on 11. Okay, now you have done your page 1. There are more pages to come in this project, but this is the end of this video.